Hi, this is Coach Judy. Welcome to the Wonderfully Whole Lifestyle Program, where we bridge the biblical perspective and the natural. And today we are going to look at some people, how they're aging. And my topic today is aging powerfully. We have heard the term aging gracefully, and that's great, meaning that we don't want to be a crabby old person. We have accepted the aging process. We're not acting like someone in our 20s or 30s, but we have gained wisdom. That's how we age gracefully. Now, we, as we age gracefully, we want to also age powerfully and successfully, meaning that we do not want to be weak in our bodies, in a wheelchair, or being riddled with disease. And we want to have a sharp mind. And today I want us to we're going to look at some biblical characters at first who age powerfully. And then we're going to look at some modern people who have a great lifestyle. They have a sense of purpose and how they age gracefully and they also age powerfully. And then and they're called super agers. They live long, they have a healthy, sharp minds, and they enjoy life. They're super agers, and we could learn a lot from them. So we're going to learn some of the characteristics of these super agers, and then we're going to go into looking at a lifestyle of how to eat well and exercise that would cause us to live long and healthy and fit. So let's just take a look at the biblical super ages, okay? There were some of them and their secrets. And the biblical super ages, we're going to look at three of them. One of them is Moses, the other was Caleb, my favorite character. You probably heard me mention his name multiple of times. And then Anna, she welcomed the the Lord Jesus Christ when he was just a baby. All right. So when we look at Moses, after 40 years of preparation, we know his story. He grew up in Egypt. He had a call on his life. He knew it, but he went off on it impulsively and he had to run away from Egypt. He had to be groomed before he took up his ministry. So he left Egypt about in his 40 or late 30s, 40, and he ran from Egypt and he went into another country in the wilderness. And there he was groomed by God for 40 years. Can you just picture this? 40 years that he was being groomed by God in the wilderness. We call it the wilderness experience. He got married. He had children, and then God called him at the ripe old age of 80 years old. Many people wouldn't think of starting a ministry at the age of 80, but with God, there is no age with Him. Once we are yielded to Him, He would use us very young. He would use us in our middle age, and he would use us in our old age. And Moses was called at the ripe old age of 80 years old. My God. And he had the task. of leading over 1 million people into the promised land. So we see this man completely yielded to God after 40 years. He's no longer impulsive. God has groomed him. He has wisdom now. And they said he was the meekest man on the planet at that time. And we see him going and bringing the children of Israel in. He didn't even get to go into the promised land, but he led them through the desert. He took them from Egypt, and he made a mistake because he was angry with them, and he didn't get to even see the promised land until uh, we saw him on the Mount of Transfiguration when the Lord Jesus Christ appeared with him. But we see this man tirelessly leading over 1 million people in the desert and through tough situations where they challenge him. It was not a perfect situation. It's not like fast forward, you're in a nice office, air conditioned office, and you're just leading your people. Right now, some having meetings with on Zoom, and you have a whole leadership team. But we see Moses, because he was groomed, because he had a sense of purpose. He was doing what God called him to do. He lived and he did his ministry for 40 years. And after the 40 years, at ripe old age of 120, they said he wasn't sick. The Bible said he was not sick. He was not weak. He was not feeble. He had his eyesight. There was no disease mentioned about Moses. Okay. They said he finished his assignment, and it's like he walked to his grave. Nobody knew where his grave was. It is recorded that God buried him. So we see a super ager. He was yielded to God. He followed God wholly. He had a sense of purpose. He did his ministry. He completed it. He completed his assignment, and he died without disease, without being feeble, without dementia. Wouldn't that be a great way to go? That you live your life, you completed all of the assignments, you completed your purpose here on earth, and you just say, it's time for me to go home. Wouldn't that be a wonderful way to go without being sidelined with sicknesses and diseases and all the awful stuff? The second person we want to look at is Caleb. I just love Caleb. I love his, it's just he was a man of strength. It was a man of gusto. He was one of the spies that went that Moses had sent. He and Joshua to spy out the land with 10 others. Two of them came back with such a great report, and he said, we are well able to take the territory. But the 10 other spies said no, they saw themselves as grasshoppers. Fast forward, they didn't get to go, they didn't take over these annex, and they had to go through the desert, the wilderness. He went with them for 45 years. 45 years, this guy, through no fault of his, but because of the disobedience of the children of Israel at that time, and they seen themselves as grasshoppers and not as the giants that God has called them to see themselves. He had to just endure 45 years in the wilderness, and he was going through all kinds of stuff with the children of Israel under Joshua leadership. But at the ripe age of 85 years, He said, he told Joshua, remember back in the day that we were promised an inheritance. I want my inheritance now. And his inheritance was to go and tackle the same people that the children of Israel didn't want to go and fight against 45, over 40 years ago. And he said to Joshua, I am at this age. I want my inheritance. And he said, I have the strength as I was back then because I wholly follow the Lord. This is another super ager. He wholly followed the Lord. And he said, these are his favorite words. Give me my mountain, meaning that I am not just going to my grave without my inheritance. Give me what is due to me. And Joshua said, yes. Now, to take his inheritance, he had to fight physically to get his inheritance. He was bold. He was full of strength. He was so resilient, and he went and he took his inheritance. He fought for it. He took it, and he was another super ager. So I want to encourage anybody who is listening. You might be in your 60s, your 70s, your 80s, and you felt that you have not accomplished certain things in life. You know there is more. Do not look at age, but look at some of these biblical super ages. He tackled, he took his inheritance at the ripe old age of 85. Now, you probably say, we want to know about a woman. We fast forward in the New Testament, we see Anna. She was a prophetess, and what was the characteristic of her lifestyle? She was yielded to God. She lived a life of prayer and fasting. Okay, and she spent her life in the temple. She was a widow. She for quite a number of years, and she spent her life in the temple serving God. And she looked for the redemption of Israel. So she had a sense of purpose. She was looking for the redemption of Israel. So when Mary brought in baby Jesus, she was present, and she was another super ager. So we see that these super agers who follow truth and they live long lives, they had a God-given purpose and they were obedient to their calling. So these are some characteristics of those biblical characters. And we could just go through the Bible and we can see many, many more, many more. But now I want to move on to fast forward into the 21st century. Some of these individuals who are called super agers. There was an informative report in the Art magazine by Jean Doran McDonald, and she did a wonderful article, and she recorded, and she I believe she interviewed some of these people who were who are super agers because some of them are still alive, okay, and they live long. Their minds were sharp and they were enjoying life. And we want to take a look at some of these people. There's a doctor, Vernon Smith. He's 96 years old. He's on the faculty of both the business and law at Chaplin University. This guy is 96 years old. All right. He starts his day at 7:30 each morning. He has 10-hour days of writing and researching. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in Economics Sciences at the age of 75. So we see that this, you don't have to be in your 90s just sitting in a armchair waiting to die. But his mind is active. He still works. He still just lecturing, because he's on the faculty of both the business and law at Chaplin University. So his mind is active. He has a sense of purpose. And his secret, he said, his secret is hard work. So we see one of the characteristics of these super agers who live long is hard work. They get involved, so they keep their mind sharp. And I can remember growing up with my grandmother. She died at the age of 96. All right. But at the age of 90, I remember before we brought her into this country, at the age of 90, she was so active. She was just active. She would do her own banking. She ran she had a home back in Trinidad, and she did everything. She kept her animals, she kept her chickens, and she would do intensive gardening. She was always very, very strong, and her work ethic was she would get up like the, a long time before day. She would get about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and she would just uh, do what she had to do because she had to feed her fowls, go get vine for her animals. And you should see her. Before she died, her grip was so strong, and she would do all a lot of physical work. She was physically fit, and she would had a lot of strength. I remember she would tell us these stories, and she said, one time, because she lived in the rural part of Trinidad, she said, I found a huge snake behind my stove, and I went to get some men to come and help me. This woman is in her 80s at that time, and they were all scared. She said, you know what? I gotta get this job done. This is one of the characteristics of the super agers. They just don't lay back and just let things happen to them. They take the matters into their hands. If nobody doesn't want to help them, she said, you know what? I just thought about this. I just put some water to boil. This is in her own words. And then I threw it when the water boiled. I threw it on the snake. The snake just coiled up there, and then I took a shovel and took the snake out and buried the snake. Strength, mentally tough, emotionally tough, physically strong. The super agers. Then another super ager I'm looking at is Martha Stewart. Right now she's 82 years old, and she says the same thing. Her secret is hard work. She wakes up at 4 a.m. in the morning. My goodness, this is an 82-year-old woman, and you know a little bit about Martha Stewart. She started with a catering business. She wrote so many books. She has paints. She has done it all in her book Martha Rules. She went to prison, and then she turned that lemon in her life and made it into lemonade. And she has candles. She has no, she has a wide variety of products. This woman, and at the age of 82, she could have just said, I am retired, let me just give up and just sit on my yacht because she's wealthy. But no, she, the secret to keep her going is working hard and keeping her mind sharp. She's up at 4 a.m. in the morning. She does Pilates at 6:15 3 times a week. And then a little later, I'm going to share with you one of the key characteristics of super agers, the exercise. They don't just live. They're not couch potatoes. They exercise. She exercises 3 times a week. She's writing her 100th book. She's probably finish it by now. And because when I read this article about her, it's about a couple months ago. So she's probably finished her 100 book. She appeared on Sports Illustrated in a bathing suit. A woman in her 80, an 80-year-old woman, because that she's not looking at age, and everything was not rosy for her. She had her own share of adversity, and she had a messy divorce, and she was in prison for 6 months. So we see her resiliency, never giving up. Martha Stewart, my God, wow, wow. Such examples of these super agers. I just love it. I love to read about these people. Another woman is by the name of Iris Apfel. She just died at the ripe old age of 102. She started modeling in her early 80s. And then she had a set of footwear. Her name was Iris Apfel. Started modeling at 82. Some people probably say, why is she going into modeling? Why is she designing footwear in her 80s? Because there's creativity, there's life. You don't just settle just because you turn 60 or 70 and say, I'm going to leave everything for the youth and not fulfill your God-given purpose. Some people just give up and say, oh, they just want to just take, you want to enjoy your grandchildren, but you at the same time you have a sense of purpose to fulfill. So you're not just in a house looking after your grandchildren. Some people are content with that, but there are other things that you could do. My goodness, and just fulfill your God-given assignment. Have a sense of purpose. So we are looking at some of these super agers. Another super ager is Ernestine Shepherd. Because I'm in wellness, I just love her story. She, my goodness, she's at the, she was a school teacher, and in her 50s, she was overweight, and she decided to go into to get healthy, to get fit. And her sister died young, and they both of them had started out together, and the sister died, and the sister said, make a commitment to me that you will continue, and she continued. So she started getting fit in her 50s, and she went into bodybuilding. She had a trainer who pushed her, and she became the oldest competitive female bodybuilder. It is recorded in the Guinness Book of Record at 71 years old. I believe it's 71. My year could be a year off or two. But in her 70s, she was the most decorated, bodybuilder. She's in the Guinness Book of Records. Ernestine Shepherd. Now she's in her 80s. She's not in competition anymore, but she is still fit. She has her own gym. So it's a 88 years old, and her lifestyle too. She gets up early, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not saying that everybody can do that, but this is what her secret is. She gets up early in the morning, 3 o'clock, and she runs. My goodness. And she's still continuing her lifestyle because she made a decision. Excuse me. She made a decision to, I am going to be healthy and fit. And we know all of this take discipline. And she had a sense of purpose. And she made a commitment to her sister that she will fulfill it. And from that was a springboard to being healthy. And now she's a role model and such an example to many women that you do not have to grow old, weak, and frail. Yes, some things come out genetically, but this is where when we look to God, what we cannot do physically, we could ask for his strength. We could, because he wants to see us fit. He wants to see us healthy, and we could have the life of God flowing through us as Christians. In Romans 8:11, he said the scripture says, "If the Spirit of God dwells in you, the Spirit of life. It shall also give life to your mortal body." So we could pray over our body to get strong, even when you encounter illnesses, you encounter weaknesses. We could ask God to strengthen our bodies. So we don't. You don't have to be. You could be hopeful and not hopeless, and say, "Why?" Someone might be listening to me and saying, "Oh, Judy, this is all well and good. Some things came down genetically, some my knees, but we could pray and ask God to reverse those issues, reverse those conditions in our life." Then I want to look at again some people who modern day super ages. One of them is Norman Lear, 100 years old. I'm not sure if he's still alive, but he at the time of that article is was he was 100, a television producer and screenwriter, and his secret weapon is gratitude. My goodness, I don't know if he's a believer, but he said his secret weapon is gratitude, appreciating his talents and gifts that he was born with. So he has an attitude of gratitude. And when we look in the Bible, we are exhorted to give thanks and everything. Give thanks. Sometimes things just doesn't work out the way that we want it, but we want to see the glass half full instead of half empty. Always give thanks. So his all is gratitude. Ruth Westheimer, probably heard of her back in the 80s. Now she's 96 years old. She's the sex therapist. Her secret weapon is the love of life and talking. So everybody is different, but you have to have some kind of sense of purpose. You want to grab life, with both hands, live life, enjoy life, And I believe that's God's mind towards us. He wants us to enjoy life, live life to the max. Another super ager that mentioned in this article by Jean Doran McDowell, and his name is Thaddeus Mosley. He's 97 years old. My goodness, a sculptor. So we're seeing something here that these people didn't just decide to stop working, but they continue with their passions. He's a sculptor who had an exhibition, a 2022 exhibition in Paris. So that he was 95 when he did that exhibition. His secret weapon, hope you hear me, his secret weapon, we- weapon, weapons, two secret weapons. We are looking at the characteristics of some of these super ages. His secret weapons was physical exercise. He still lifts 125 pounds. And the second secret weapon is reading. So he's keeping his mind sharp, and at the same time, he is keeping his body fit. Just stop, reflect about a 97-year-old man. Hallelujah. This is so exciting. I just love to study this. His weapon, his weapon, oh my goodness, is physical exercise. He lifts 125 pounds. I'm not saying if you never exercised before you go on and start, you of course you get a physician clearance and you get coach who could coach you and you start and you build up. He had to be doing this at a younger age so that at the age of 97, he could lift 125 pounds. This is wonderful. And another super ager, this woman, I know her personally. She was at my wedding, 25 years ago. Now she's in her 80s. She's cognitively sharp. She just went on a mission trip to Ghana. She just went back to Bible school to get more more courses and a degree. When she was doing it, someone said to her, why are you doing this? You should settle down and just stay at home. I guarantee you, if she had just taken their advice, she would be weak. Her mind would be going because now she said some of her friends who decided to go that way, they're suffering from dementia. So we have the secrets of some of these super agers. They just did things to keep themselves cognitively sharp. They did things to be physically fit. They worked on themselves. All right, and we can learn a lot from them. And and even in this article that I read, and it says, it's not necessary. You say these people have lucky genes, But according to Angela Roberts, assistant professor in the School of Communication Sciences and Disorder at Western University, what she said, lifestyle matters. This is why I am on this program talking about a wonderfully whole lifestyle. And this just confirms what I'm doing. Lifestyle matters. And when we looked at these super ages, they have a physically and intellectually active lifestyle. The willingness or ability to constantly challenge oneself. They have an active social life and network. And they They had moderation in indulgences, meaning that they in everything they were moderate. They weren't just drinking themselves away or eating themselves to death. You know, some people live to eat instead of eating to live. They were moderate. So and these super agers, they control their blood sugar and their blood pressure, meaning that they watch it what they put in your mouth. And I'm gonna just go a little bit into this lifestyle, this longevity lifestyle. You know, they talk to their friends a lot, meaning that they had a social network of people. They weren't isolated because when people are isolated, they tend to go into depression. So they talk to their friends a lot. They avoid stress and they prioritize mental health. Another thing, they put sleep as a high priority. Sleep helps the whole body, especially our brains, our minds, our cardiovascular system, everything. Sleep. And I could remember my grandmother. she she would go into her bed very early. This was her lifestyle. She would go to bed very early. I think the latest was 9 o'clock. I remember growing up with her when my mother would send us to spend time, our school vacation with her in the rural part of Trinidad. We spent 6 weeks with her. Her lifestyle was at 9 o'clock, like the latest 9 o'clock, you're in bed. And she would get up about 4 o'clock in the morning and she would be preparing everything from scratch, feeding, as I mentioned before, feeding her chickens, feeding her animals, everything. It's just a lifestyle. They put sleep a priority. So she was getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. So she was healthy. And I was just listening to a podcast. Uh, no, it was not podcast. I read this book on Headway, and they talk about this gentleman was talking about emotional intelligence. He said just as how in the physical we're looking to do things to live a long life, we really want to have a strong immune system. And he said, emotional intelligence, having a high EI is important for longevity. And what is emotional intelligence? It's the ability to manage both your emotions and understand the emotions of people around you. And there are five elements to emotional intelligence: self awareness, self regulation, meaning discipline, motivation, empathy, and social skills. So, people who have a high EI, high emotional intelligence, can live a long time. It's one of the markers for longevity. And we see it in these super agers. They have a network of people. We see it, Thaddeus Mosley, to have an exhibition, a 2022 exhibition, mean that you are meeting with people. You're not isolated in a mountain someplace. You're right in the center of things. We see Moses, my God, leading the children of Israel. So he was right in the thick of things. 120, and he just gave up the ghost. Okay. We see Martha Stewart, my goodness, writing 100 books. I look at the commercials. We see this woman. She's in commercials. She was in a commercial with Snoop Doggy Dogg. They involved. They're in the center of things. So I'm encouraging you. You want to adopt some of these traits of these long livers. They call them super agers. Now we want to see. Now we're going to look at the longevity diet. I have a book here called The Longevity Diet. You know, it's by a doctor called Walter Longo. He's a PhD. He's the director of the Longevity Institute and founder of createcures.org. So this is a good book that you could pick up because it's documented. You know, he has some great stuff that is proven, you know, that we could adopt. And it's the longevity diet, slow aging, fight disease, optimize weight. Now, I want to share a little bit from this book, The Longevity Diet. So this is what we're looking at today. He suggests eat mostly a vegan diet with some fish. Some people call it a plant-based diet. Strive for 100% plant and fish-based diet, but limit fish consumption to 2 or 3 meals a week so that you avoid the high mercury content. And there are things that we could do once we taken care of our health and we're looking at what we put in our mouth. There are juices and things that we could do to cleanse this heavy metal from our bodies. One of them is like cilantro. Like I juice cilantro, dandelion, and because the cilantro, it takes heavy metal out of the body. So you want to have healthy juices as green juices, things in its natural state to go through your body. And he said after age 65 to 70, if you start losing muscle mass or strength and weight, add more fish and fruit and introduce animal-based products like eggs, cheese, and yogurt made from sheep or goat's milk. So this is a doctor, you know. He's just giving us really good stuff that to remain healthy physically. He said consume low but sufficient protein. He said if you weigh 100 pounds, you should consume about 31 to 36 grams of protein a day, of which 30 grams should be consumed in a single meal to maximize muscle synthesis. If you weigh 200 pounds and have a 35% body fat, 60 grams of protein per day are instead sufficient, considering that it is the lean body mass that utilizes most of the protein. So you want to have enough protein so that you will not lose weight or muscle mass. Then he went on to say, minimize bad fats. So we know the bad fats. You want to minimize bad fats and maximize good fats and complex carbohydrates. So the good fats are things from unsaturated, like salmon, almonds, walnuts, but we want to stay away from very poor, bad saturated and hydrogenated and trans fats. So and then we want to limit our sugar intake. Okay, we want complex carbohydrates, and we want to limit our pasta, rice, white bread, fruit juices, and fruits containing carbohydrates that are easily converted into simple sugars. What it is saying here, the sugars, this is so tricky. People are addicted to sugar in this country, and sugar is hidden in so many things. Some people think, oh, I'm drinking all this fruit juice, but it's high in sugar. I've known a beverage that it's have all organic raw stuff, but it's just full of fruit juices, and people it's 16 ounces, and in that 16 ounces there's 54 grams of sugar. So people are thinking, well, I'm drinking something healthy, but it's loaded with sugar. So we want to have juices, and we have fruits, but minimize drinking it in concentrated form. Even when you buy a bottle of apple juice, 8 ounces of that apple juice is 32 grams of sugar. So that is more than the sugar that you need to take in. So we want to limit these things, minimize bad fats, sugars, and maximize good fats. Like we want a good fats like uh, ground flaxseed. We have extra virgin olive oil, the good fats, avocado oil. So these are the good fats. Coconut oil, good fats. And we want to be nourished. The body needs protein. Uh, Essential fatty acids means that we want to take our cod liver oils, which is omega 3s and omega 6, and we get that even in the ground flax seeds, and we get that in hemp seeds. We want our minerals, the vitamins, and sufficient sugar to find the many wars going in, he says, going on inside your body. So everything is balanced. We don't want to go to one end of the spectrum and not just we want the body to be well nourished. So we want that balance of minerals, vitamins, proteins, essential fatty acids, well nourished. And then his suggestion, Dr. Bouter, Longo, PhD, his suggestion is eat twice a day plus a snack, you know. So you don't want to overly indulge. I remember growing up, my aunts used to say we would rather clothe you than feed you. I had such an appetite and I was so thin. So that was when I was growing up as a teenager. When you're a teenager or young adult, you eat so much, and but now when you want to live long and you're in your 50s, 60s, you want to kind of watch what you eat and you're not overly indulgent in things that would have you overweight, obese, and have you all unhealthy. So he said, eat twice a day plus a snack. Okay. And then he talks about restrict your eating. He told in this book, this is a very good book that you should get, because he talks a little bit of intermittent fasting. And he said, restrict your eating to 11 to 12 hours or less per day. It means you're eating in a window. You want to restrict your eating, meaning that if you eat breakfast at 8 a.m., you finish dinner at 8 p.m. Shorter periods, he said, shorter periods of time of feeding, 10 hours or less, have been shown to be even more effective in promoting health, but they are much more difficult to comply, and may increase the risk of side effects. Okay, so you have to have self-control. You don't want to be eating late at night. You don't want to be eating everything you put in your mouth as you grow older, because if you want to live long, you have to eat moderately. And then he talks about a little bit about periodic, prolonged fasting diets. At one point, I spoke about intermittent fasting. You could do intermittent fasting of 14 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours, but you have to know your body, know what's going on, and having the wisdom. Maybe you might have a naturopathic doctor who helps you, someone who is in alternative medicine that you could be advised with how to go into these intermittent fasting, because the intermittent fasting helps the body. It slows down the process of aging. So if you're not eating all day, you're not eating living to eat, you live it, you eating to live, everything in moderation. And you want to put into your mouth things that will fuel the body well, meaning that you're not putting ultra processed foods in your mouth. You want to have foods that are high in antioxidants, green vegetables. You want to eat them raw or lightly steamed. You want lean meats, things like that. So you're watching what you put in your mouth but at the same time enjoying your food. That does not mean that you would not have a slice of cake uh, celebrated, but you're not going to be eating that every single night. So as he mentions in this book, the longevity diet, we are eating to live. We are eating to have a healthy body. Some people like a Mediterranean lifestyle of eating. So you have to know your body. And as he mentioned before, eating mostly a vegan diet with some fish. And when I say a vegan diet, it's not eating artificial vegan foods, but eating the more vegetables. You have God has given us quite a variety of vegetables. He has given us beans. He has given us pulses. So much that we could balance this thing off and eat well and enjoy your food. The most important thing is enjoying life, not to be, oh my God, I got to eat this. I know of someone, but she's so rigid in her eating habits. Yes, you want to eat moderately, but you don't want to be rigid. You want to enjoy life. And this is one of the markers or the characteristics of the super agers. They enjoy life. And the Lord tells us that we must rejoice evermore. Enjoy, enjoy life, enjoy God, enjoy Yahweh, you enjoy Yeshua, enjoy Jesus, rejoice evermore. And then he mentioned the exercise for longevity. So if you want to live long, you cannot be a couch potato. He said he recommends walking fast 1 hour per day. Oh my goodness. Walking fast 1 hour per day. So if you're not a gym person, but you could uh, uh, walk an hour a day, you probably, if you cannot do it in all at one time, you could do it 30 minutes at a time or break it up. There's this new thing about exercise snacking. So if you are a very busy individual, but you could break up your exercise into 15-minute bout. You walk for 15 minutes brisk. You come back a little later, you do another 15 minutes, and come back, you do another 15 minutes. And then also take the stairs, or instead of escalators or elevators. So you're working hard, and especially in the winter months, if you have a home with stairs, use the stairs. That's what my husband and I do. We have stairs, so we do it 12 times up and down. If you live in an apartment and it's safe, like especially in the city, use the steps. If you live on the sixth floor, use the steps. So this is you get in your body, and we want to do moderate exercise for 2.5 hours a week, and some of it in the vigorous. We want to work in some vigorous. So the vigorous could be low impact cardio. It could be dancing. It could be cycling. I know of my my husband's aunt. In her 80s, late 80s, she was playing tennis. So she's a super ager. I think she's in her 90s. So we see the characteristics of super agers. Okay, they have a physically and intellectual active lifestyle. And intellectually they keep their mind sharp, they're reading, they're doing new things, they're learning a language, you're keeping the mind sharp, the willingness, having the willingness or ability to constantly challenge yourself. We are alive, so we're not just letting things go, and living. We have to stimulate ourselves, find something to learn, do a new course. Find a course that you like, something. What is your passion? You might like painting, you might like art. Find something that you to do. I'm in my 60s now, and I'm thinking I always wanted to do fencing, and I have to stop thinking about it and find a class to start to do fencing. So it's always challenging yourself, challenging yourself. If it is might be going back to school, and get a degree, get a certification. My goodness, when I thought about this woman, uh, in her 80s, she started modeling. Some people say, "Oh my, who does she think she is?" You know, leave that for the people in their teens and 20s and 30s. But she started modeling and she had her own own style of modeling. Sometimes we are creative, so the willingness or ability to constantly challenge ourselves and then have an active social life and network. Do not be a homebody, just find people to network with because we can learn so much from them. So I wanted to just come on today and share that we do not only want to age gracefully. Yes, it's wonderful to age gracefully, meaning that we're not a crabby person, but we have accepted the aging process because we're when once we age gracefully, we are wiser, we have we have a lot to give because we have been on this planet for quite some time. We could share experiences, At the same time, we want to age powerfully, not frail, feeble, but it's all about a lifestyle. It's all about a lifestyle. And this is why I am on here to share the wonderfully whole lifestyle where we're bridging the spiritual aspect because we are spirit, soul, and body. We need God. In Him, we live and move and have our being. Hallelujah. So we are drawing our life. He came that we might have life and have it more abundantly. So we are drawing strength from Him for our spirit, for our soul, and our body. And I want to pray this over you. First Thessalonians 5:23 is one of my favorite scriptures that I declare, I pray over myself almost every day. Not I can't say every single day, but almost every day, and it's First Thessalonians 5:23. And I pray that the God of Shalom, the God of wholeness, the God of peace, the God of well-being, sanctify you wholly. And I pray that your spirit, your soul, and your body be preserved blameless until the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. So He's keeping us of keeping us so that we could be a super ager, aging powerfully, finishing our assignments here. Oh my God, Lord, and then going to glory with him without sickness, without without being feeble. So I challenge you, age powerfully. Be well, be whole, and be wonderfully whole. This is Coach Judy. If you'd like to get in contact with me, you can reach me at Judy at wonderfully whole dot com. God bless.